As the official healthcare provider of Minnesota United, Allina Health is focused on keeping our Loons in top condition. And with expertise in orthopedics, sports medicine, heart care, and more, Allina has the team to keep your family in the game too. The experts at Allina Health take the time to get to know you as a whole person, helping you achieve wellness for your mind, body, and spirit. It's an altogether better kind of healthcare. Learn more at allinahealth.org.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when this finds you. Welcome to the Sound of the Loons podcast presented by Allina Health. I am a guest host now. I'm Steve McPherson. Started this podcast way back in the day, Sound of the Loons, which was so much fun. One of my favorite things to do with Minnesota United. And I'm thrilled to be back here filling in for Kendra D. St. Aubin while she's working on the Women's World Cup, which I'm sure is something we'll get to talking about. I'm super happy to welcome Susannah Collins onto the podcast. How's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Are you in? You're not in Minnesota right now.
No, I'm not in Minnesota. I am in Norwalk, Connecticut.
Oh,
yeah.
I used to live in Norwalk, Connecticut.
Wait, no way. Get out of here. Nobody knows about Norwalk.
I know. So I lived in South Norwalk.
Okay.
And I lived there from 2001 to 2003 or so. So forever ago.
Get out of town.
But
Get out of town. Yeah. I lived in Brooklyn.
The aquarium.
The aquarium's
diner.
great.
Yeah, it's good. There's all this great stuff.
Yeah, no, I lived in Brooklyn for years, and then with the new job with Galazzo Network, the studios are in Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh,
okay. So I needed a little bit of a better commute. So Norwalk was the choice, and here I am.
That was sort of the motivation behind our choice. I was in a band at the time, and we were playing in New York.
That's way cooler.
Well, I mean, it wasn't the band didn't succeed. So, but one of the other guy I lived with was teaching in Connecticut. He taught in water near Waterbury. So, it's a good spot for that for sure.
Yeah, it's not bad. I live right by the water. It's a lovely little community. I have no complaints.
Yeah, for sure. On another personal note, you have another personal connection to Minnesota United.
I sure do. I am engaged to Ian Fuller, who just happens to be the assistant coach for Minnesota United. So yeah, it's a club very near and dear to my heart.
So we know if there's any problems, if the team has any problems on the field, we know who to blame. It's
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. 100%. No, he's the best assistant coach in the league. He's very valuable to the team.
I had a tremendous dinner with him once upon a time in Seattle when we were out when the team was playing the Sounders with Eric Durkee and him and somebody else at a fantastic Korean place that was sort of near Pike's near the market.
The market, sure.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think that was the most I hung out with Ian in any concerted way. But he also came on the podcast, so it's friend of the pod.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we like to keep it in the fam,
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about Morning Footy, this daily morning show that you're working on. It's on from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern time, which means that for us here in Minnesota, it's 6 to 8 a.m. That's very early to get up, but maybe it's a good thing to get up and have your coffee with talking about soccer a little bit.
I mean, that's our idea. Yeah, we wanted to give a product to people who, soccer fans, for they can kind of start their day. Cause I remember back in the day, when I would wake up and I'd put on a Sports Center or whatever was on ESPN, and it was just kind of this banter. But they were never talking about soccer. There was never anything. There was never an outlet for that. So this kind of scratches that itch for people who just kind of want to get a really big sort of overview on what's going on in the soccer world, because we cover it all on Morning Footy.
Yeah, it's fun. I watched some clips on YouTube, just sort of checking it out, and I liked it. Did sort of give me that Sports Center vibe of it feels casual and fun, and not like you're just talking tactics or anything like that. You're not taking it too seriously. Talking to Walker Zimmerman about his Taylor Swift fandom and things like that, and yeah, it just seems like a really fun group of people. Like, how did that group come together? Like, sort of, where did the idea come from?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Pete Radovich, who is kind of the brains behind the entire operation, when CBS decided to launch the Golazo Network, which is basically just an entirely soccer specific streaming network, they wanted a show to just kind of anchor all of the programming. And so he kind of came up with this idea to have this morning show. And it's funny because I'm sure, as you know, the soccer media world is very small. So, when you look at that desk, like, it's me and Nico Cantor and Charlie Davies and Alexis Guerrero. So I had worked with all of them in some capacity over the years. And so there was kind of already like a built-in rapport there because we had known each other. And Pete is really, really good. He's the brains behind the Champions League coverage on CBS as well. And you see what he's done with the likes of Kate Abdo and Jamie Carragher and Micah Richards and Thierry Henry. And so he's really good at identifying personalities that he think will mesh well, that will challenge each other, that will, we can kind of grind each other's gears a little bit, but all obviously in a friendly tone. But it was kind of his baby, and this was it was his idea to bring us all together. And Pete was actually the person who gave me my start in the industry. It wasn't even soccer related. It was like in 2011, he kind of plucked me from obscurity to be a correspondent on Inside the NFL. And so it's kind of, for me, it's sort of this interesting, like, full circle moment that I have sort of ended up back working with him in the CBS family. But gosh, we have so much fun. I am not a morning person. I will say that straight off the bat. Like, none of us really were, because when you work in sports, like, you're so used to staying up late to cover matches or watch games. And so it takes a very special group of people for me to get excited to wake up in the morning. But I genuinely love all of my coworkers. We have a really good time, despite the fact that our call time is 5 a.m.
That is very early. Is it?
Yeah.
Are you a coffee person? Are you a tea person? Like, what?
Coffee. I have to have coffee. I have to have at least like 2 substantial cups of coffee before the show airs to even have a prayer of getting through it. Because when you think about it, it's so daunting, right? It's like 2 hours. We've got to talk about soccer for 2 hours. What can we possibly talk about? There's always something to talk about. Yeah. But yeah, the caffeine is essential.
Now, just straight up, like, black coffee. What do you do? Milk, sugar?
I've gotten a little. I used to be one of these, like, cream and sugar, like, make it like as sweet as possible. And I think, like, the earlier that I've had to get up, I'm like, no, I need it dark. I need it dark. So now I've gotten to the point where it's basically black, but there's just like a little teeny little splash of milk or half and half in there. But yeah, I like it strong.
I'm definitely, I've been a black coffee drinker for quite a while, and I'm like, I have 2 kids in the morning. I got to get them out the door. If anybody asks me anything, I can't communicate, but I can maybe do things. So the idea of getting on camera that early is pretty daunting to me as well. But you're saying about in terms of the meshing, and you want to still be able to, like, push each other a little bit, because sports shows shouldn't be too polite. There needs to be a little bit of
there definitely
sparring, right?
Needs to be. And it's interesting because, like, Alexis Guerreros, for example, is a stand-up comedian by trade. Like, that is that's his line of work. And so he's a guy who is programmed to look for the openings and look for a moment to either, like, stick it to you or, just an incredible one-liner, which he does all the time. But it's nice because Charlie brings that former player aspect. And so he brings that to the table. Nico is kind of our encyclopedia. He's like the nerd of the group, and he would be totally fine with me calling him that, by the way. he loves nerding out over all things soccer. I mean, he knows things about, like, the most obscure leagues in the world. So it's just this kind of, we're all very, very different, and it just kind of works. And we, I think we challenge each other, but we also really respect each other. And I think that at the end of the day, that's probably the most important aspect of it and why it works.
Yeah, for sure. As far as having things to talk about, I want to ask you about Messi and like what having him come to MLS has done. I mean, for the sport, but also just in terms of the chance to have him in the conversation and how much attention that brings to the sport.
You know, I was watching the match last night against Atlanta United, and I still can't quite believe it. Like, I can't actually believe that he is here playing in Major League Soccer, playing in North America, playing at this ridiculously high level. I mean, it's just so special. Like, we talk about it on the show all the time. Like, it is absolutely seismic for the growth of the game here. And people that didn't care about MLS, people that didn't care about soccer in this country, are now watching these matches. And so it's, you know, in the same way, there's been a lot of comparisons made about, you know, like when Beckham came over in 2007. I think this is even bigger. I think this is going to change the landscape even more significantly, because it's raised the game. You saw it last night. I mean, I kept having to remind myself that Miami are actually in last place in the East. And the way that they were playing with Messi and Busquets on the field together was sublime. It was like, I talked about on the show today, how, like, you know, Michael Jordan, when he played, he raised the level of everybody else around him. And it feels like that is exactly what's happening at Inter Miami right now. And it's going to put so much pressure on every other club in this league, thinking like, we've just been able to bring in literally the best player to ever play the game, who is still the best player. It's not like he's fallen off form at all. Clearly not. I just think that it's going to force everybody and the entire league to kind of raise the ceiling, as it should. And especially when we think about looking ahead to 2026 and the World Cup coming here. I mean, it's just this sport is like on this crazy upwards trajectory, and the Messi effect is so real. It's like we just lit a match on gasoline, and it's like, whew. And I'm so here for it. Here for it.
Well, you know, I feel like the thing with MLS is that, you know, it's a long season. There's a lot of variance between stadiums and like road trips, and home field advantage is such a big part of it. And I feel like over years you would see teams just need to get hot at the right time. Like, how can you get hotter than just adding Busquets and Messi to your team in the middle of the season? Like, the good plan. Like,
yeah, well played. Also add like Tata Martino in the mix, you know, like,
right.
like no one's even talking about Tata. It's like, oh, he casually won MLS Cup in his second year in charge. No big deal. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, I had, you know, and again, as someone like I'm not don't follow as closely as when I worked for Minnesota United, and I was reading the news, and I was like, Messi, I look like I heard about this. I was like, oh wait, Tata Martino's coming too. Like he was the talk of the town with Atlanta United. Like, it's, I know, it's wild. So
it is. It's pretty incredible. But it's so exciting. Actually, Ian and I were texting last night during the game, and we were both like, how fun is this? Like this, like MLS has just become that much more fun to watch and compelling. And it was like, and also just like Messi looks so happy. Like, he looks so joyful playing. And that, I think, like, when you see a guy like that, who is just this like global phenom, absolutely loving his life and playing at such a high level, like, it's infectious. I don't know, if you're a soccer fan and you are not enjoying this, like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's amazing to see him, because I feel like, obviously, as one of the greats, he has had so much pressure on his shoulders in so many situations, for Argentina, you know, for Barcelona, like for all these different teams, you know, coming to a place like PSG, and it's like, this is the expectation, you're Messi. I feel like there's got to be something about coming to a place like MLS, and this is not to downgrade the quality of playing MLS. It's very good. But a place where it's just a little different. Like, he can be a little freer, a little more open. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's in trouble walking the streets of Miami. I'll tell you, as somebody who's been to Miami, when I was in Little Havana, there were so many messy posters around all over the place. He's going to get recognized, but not the same way as, in Spain or someplace like that.
No, I mean, the fact that he was able to in that opening match in Leagues Cup against Cruz Azul, and when he scored the free kick and ran over to his kids and hugged them, like you can't do that. You can't do that in Europe. Like that's never going to happen. And the fact that he's going to be able to have those moments, like that's so cool. And it seems like he was clearly unhappy in Paris, clearly unhappy with the situation at PSG. And I think him sort of, I don't know, feeling maybe invigorated at this point in his career is it's a really good sign of things to come. Yeah.
Well, I know you're a pro because you opened up the door for the Leagues Cup segue there. So let's talk a little bit about Leagues Cup and how things have been going so far. This is the first time this crazy format is happening. What have been your overall impressions? Like, what teams have stood out to you in this format so far?
Well, can we give some love to the Loons for a very dominating performance against Puebla? Yeah. I mean, that was impressive. And I'll be honest, until I took this job at Morning Footy, like I followed Liga MX a little bit, but mostly like, the Club Americas and the Cruz Azules, like the bigger name teams. So this has been interesting because it's been kind of an opportunity to dive into the Mexican teams a little bit. And Puebla is one of these teams that has kind of struggled, but I think like for Minnesota to make a statement like that in the opening match, especially at home, where surprisingly they haven't been able to win that much this season, I think bodes really, really well. Another team that I think is scary good right now is RSL. RSL are on an absolute tear. I mean, they handled the Sounders 3-0, and I think they're unbeaten in like their last 11 matches across all competitions. They add Chicho Arango to the mix. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? They're clicking so well right now. And I think you saw it actually in the game against Minnesota. Minnesota were up in that game, and RSL are just one of these teams. It's very classic Pablo Mastroeni. They just don't give up, they will run through a brick wall through this man. And so they've always had that fight. They've always had that tenacity where they're never out of games. You can never rule them out. But now you add a piece like Chicho Arango. You look at a guy like Justin Glad, who is having the season of his life. Damir Kreilach is healthy and fit again. And you look at the West, and the West is kind of open, and I'm sort of like, yeah. So RSL are one of my favorites in Leagues Cup. I think they can win some hardware this year, and I think that they can challenge for the top of the West as well.
Yeah, the West is very, just having, looking at Sporting Kansas City, how they were going, and then how they've turned that around recently, and it's like, it's true. They just quickly, you can move up the standings. And RSL has always had that. The team is more than the individual vibe to them, which I think comes along with a lot of the sort of small market teams. It's like, it's got to be the team together, but you add, a couple dominant pieces in there, here and there, like it can totally energize the entire thing. So,
oh yeah, completely. And you kind of said it at the top. Like, I mean, it's in MLS, like you get hot at the right time, and anything can happen. I always think back to, it was my first year covering MLS in 2016. That in July of that year, the Seattle Sounders were at the bottom of the Western Conference. Like they were literally in last place, and then end up going on this crazy second half run and win MLS Cup. So you're never really out in MLS, which makes it extra fun.
It is kind of fun. I mean, I like the playoffs. I mean, I know they've gone to the two-leg playoff, back to the two-leg playoffs. I kind of like the single elimination playoffs because it was just, hey, it's a toss-up. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
So
chaos
is good.
Chaos, and MLS is in fact the league of chaos, which I mean, you just kind of have to embrace it, like to know it is to love it, and I love it. I love it with all my heart. I do feel for some of these Mexican clubs, though. I think we saw. Did you see the footage of Leon, who got stuck in the Vancouver?
Oh yeah.
Airport, and they were sleeping on the floor of the Vancouver airport to make it back down to Los Angeles for their game against the Galaxy, which was then subsequently postponed. And I think it's a strange dynamic to have the Mexican sides playing against each other in America as well. So I think eventually, I'm wondering if like they're gonna, maybe divide, and some games will be played at stadiums in Mexico, some will be played here. I think it puts some of the Mexican teams at a little bit of a disadvantage in this competition, but this is the first iteration of this form of Leagues Cup. So I'm sure Don Garber's taking all kinds of notes. I'm sure. Areola is like, okay, no, can't do this anymore. There's conversations happening.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of changes coming once they figure out what's worked and what hasn't. I mean, I'm sure they're taking lessons that were learned from, the tournament in Florida during the pandemic, like that was its own. Remember that? That was crazy.
I was like triggered when you just said it.
Sorry.
MLS is back. Like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Gosh, that was a wild times, man.
It's the League of Chaos. You're so right. So, so the Minnesota's next opponent, Chicago Fire, coming up Thursday in just a day's time. What's your early take on the Minnesota United versus Chicago Fire matchup?
I mean, I think if you had asked me a few weeks ago, I would have been like, well, Minnesota United are the favorites in this one. Chicago, though, I feel like they've kind of turned a corner a little bit. They're one of these like teams that they've gotten a bunch of good results, and no one's really talking about them. I have to give a huge amount of credit to Frank Klopas, who since taking over for Ezra Hendrickson, obviously this is a guy who is very entrenched within that club, has been in and around it for so many years. So he's incredibly familiar, but it just seems like, they're getting the best out of a bunch of young players, and to see, I know we can talk about a guy like Shaqiri and what a bust that he has been since coming over, but you're even starting to see him kind of turn things around. So I it could be, but again, they haven't been. I have to look at their away record, but I still think that Minnesota, the addition of Teemu Pukki, Reynoso being back, and just, I mean, I feel like he's, if not like 100% there. I mean, the way he played against Puebla, the man is just, I mean, he's just special. He just performs on a different level. Bongi has been such a pleasant surprise for this team. And I think for Minnesota, they're just a hard team to beat. They have been this entire season. Even the games that they've lost, they've been in for the most part. And so I'm going to give the edge to Minnesota in this one, because I feel like that Reynoso Pukki connection, that attack is suddenly looking like it could be really dangerous. I mean, in the back, they've been pretty solid all season long and pretty consistent. But when you add in an attack and finally being able to produce some goals, I think it bodes very well. So I'm gonna give the edge to the Loons.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's hardly news, but Minnesota United's like ongoing thing has been just getting that scoring going. Like it feels like for so many seasons, it's like, certain things, Darwin Quintero comes in and sort of lights it up, but then it sort of falls off a little bit. It doesn't quite get there. And you think about Reynoso and Pukki and how like that partnership is just beginning. Like
I know.
Which is scary. Only gonna get better. I know.
It's like, oh my goodness gracious. Yeah. And you can see it too, like you can see the way that Ray is playing, and the way that he's looking for them, and that trust that's starting to develop, like that is only going to progress. And he is such a special player, and kind of, he makes everyone else around him better as well. So I think I'm looking forward to this kind of like next 3 months of the season. I think that Minnesota are likely going to be climbing up the Western Conference standings.
Yeah. I definitely, I'm sure Ian is happy to hear that. So,
he did not tell me to say that, by the way.
All right. Well,
he's so sweet. He's always like, more than I do. He's like, give me the scouting report. What's going on?
Yeah. I want to finish out talking about the Women's World Cup. Obviously, huge news going on all the time now in women's soccer with an event this awesome. That's the Ireland corner kick Olympico. I said to one of my friends, I said like Olympico, like O, like in Irish, like O apostrophe Olympico. Amazing. I mean, like that, like how could it get better than that? It was incredible.
It's so that was such a spectacular goal, and good for Ireland. Like this is their first World Cup, and I know the expectations for them are super low, and they're likely not going to make it out of the group. In fact, I don't know if they're already mathematically eliminated at this point because they lost to Canada, but those are the moments, like the World Cup is it's about moments like that and moments to build on for teams. And that was an exceptionally cool moment. And what a beautifully taken corner. Oh my God. It was when we saw that in the studio this morning, I mean, like we all just lost our minds. It was incredible. Katie McCabe, go on. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was awesome. So what anything else so far that's stood out to you just broadly in Women's World Cup so far?
It's been an interesting one. I think looking at the US, I think that first match against Vietnam kind of left a little bit to be desired. Obviously you get, you'll take the win, you'll take the 3 points for sure, but I think people were expecting them to come out and put up like 10 goals, the way they did in 2019 against a team like the Philippines when it was 13-0. Like, I think that's what people were anticipating. But what we have to remember about this US team is that it's very young. There's a lot of players that are making their World Cup debut and playing in it on this stage for the first time. And Sophia Smith spoke about it after the game. She scored a brace, which is a pretty stunning debut, if you ask me. But even she was like, there were chances that, I just didn't finish. And she said it was good to kind of get that first one under their belt. And so I think that, we are only scratching the surface of what we can see from this US team. It'll be interesting to see how they line up against the Netherlands, which is the rematch of the final from 2019. That's going to be a good test for them, I think. But I think that some other teams to watch, Spain, have looked really, really good. And one of their best players, Alexia Putellas, she hasn't even played a full 90 yet. And so, but their attack is really, really special. Brazil has looked incredibly good. Colombia had a great opening game. Japan has looked awesome as well. And they're so organized. They're such a fun team to watch. I believe that they win in 2011. Yeah, they won in 2011. They're always a team that's going to contend. And so there's a handful of teams that you should definitely keep your eye on. I think like if you look at England, who like only managed a 1-0 win in their first game. And that was a team that a lot of people were talking about in terms of like challenging the US as the favorite. They've been knocked down by injuries a lot, but I think that that was concerning. I think that first match was a little bit concerning for them. So I'm curious to see how they continue to progress during this tournament. But yeah, I think I feel good about. I think the US are going to emerge out of the group, and but there's some really, really good teams out there. It's going to be super competitive, I think, once we get out of the group stages.
Yeah, I sort of want the US to continue kicking everybody's butt, but I like that everybody else's butt is getting a little bit closer. Like it's there's not that same gap that there once was. So exactly.
Yeah, the world is catching up, and but it's only a good thing for the game globally. So yeah, it's been exciting. I'll tell you what though, this time difference, trying to watch these matches, it's
wild. Depending on where the World Cup is, whether it's men's or women's, it's like sometimes you're like, this is great, this is perfect timing for me, I can watch a Saturday morning or whatever like that. Sometimes you're like, this is just it's just rough.
It's rough. It's so rough. And like literally, I mean, like there's a match that starts at 3:30 in the morning, and I get up at 4 a.m. for morning footy, so like I can at least watch like the second half of that match. But it's like those games that start at like 1:30 in the morning, I'm like, no, that's just not it's not happening.
I'm not going to be able to
watch this. It's just not. So I rely on highlights a lot. But yeah, for the Men's World Cup this past year was incredible, because it was literally like, I feel like I just watched soccer like all day, because you would get up and at 7 or whatever and just keep going throughout the day. It was perfect. I was like, this works for me. This Australia, New Zealand business is a lot tougher to work with.
Yeah, yeah. I like to imagine you just sort of like brushing your teeth and like
Uh-huh.
holding your phone as you're watching the end of that 3:30 game.
One eye half open.
Yes, that is how I would be watching it as well. So
Exactly.
awesome. Thanks so much for coming on the show. It's lovely to talk to you. My best to you and Ian. How are the
Thank
plans?
you.
How are the plans going? Do you have, like, I remember talking to Ethan Finlay about this because when he got married, it was like every MLS person's wedding is in like that December, January, that little window.
We had literally 3 weekends that we could choose from in December. And so we were like, okay, like we don't want to get married. I'm from Chicago originally. And I'm like, it's way too cold in Chicago. So we're not doing that. We're not doing December in Chicago. So we're getting married in Savannah, Georgia, December 22nd. So right before Christmas, which some people are giving us some shtick about, but I was like, cool. This is how we're going to weed out the people, that really want to be there. The ones we really want to be there will commit to coming to the wedding. But yeah, everything is pretty much like planned. That invitations are going out this week. Like it's all happening. I keep telling him, I'm like, this is happening now.
It's happening.
Can't take it back, man. We're getting hitched. No, it's been really fun. He is the best. And I'm so proud of him. And he's done an incredible job over there. So it's been fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, congrats to both of you. The morning footy is super fun. Looking forward to where you guys take it. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on again.
Thanks for having me. This was so much fun.
All right. Thanks.
From graduation parties to corporate luncheons, we all have special occasions that could use a special host location. Regardless of the event, Allianz Field is the perfect spot for you, with a variety of unique spaces to choose from, including the roof deck, stadium club, owner's suite, and more. Minnesota United's home ground has a space to fit any kind of gathering. Give your event the professional treatment it deserves. Learn more and book your spot at Allianz Field today by visiting MNUFC.com/private events.
Welcome back to the Sound of the Loons podcast. Again, I'm Steve McPherson, stepping in for Kendra D. St. Aubin, who's off covering the Women's World Cup. Very exciting stuff going on in the world of soccer all over the place, including the arrival to Minnesota United of Ismael Tajouri-Shradi. And I want to welcome you to the Sound of the Loons. How's it going?
First of all, thanks for having me. I'm glad I'm here, and let's see what the Bosca can give us.
Nice. So in terms of, you're making the move sort of in the middle of the season. Is it challenging in terms of getting acclimated to the team and sort of getting your feet under you with the new team when you haven't had the chance to have, sort of the training and stuff that comes in preseason?
Yeah, of course, it's different than when you come to start of the season or you join a new team where it's like starting the season on a preseason where you get meet your new players, you get the style of the game and everything what the coach wants. That's of course is a different thing. But I think for me from my experience now, it's something where I just get to adapt to it very quickly. And the move in middle of the season. I think the team makes it very easy to me when I join team. They work me very well, and so I started like right away and feel very welcomed and start the games right away. Train with the team, understand the style of the club and of the coach what he wants. I think that works really perfect, and yeah.
So as far as getting acclimated to the team and sort of getting familiar with it, have you been able to make some friends? Are there guys that you had encountered before or played with in other situations or anything like that? Like who have you sort of gotten close with so far?
To get into a new team, I didn't know anyone from exactly the team. I played, of course, with couple against couple of these players who are here through my my years back with the NYCFC. But basically, I didn't know anyone. The only player I played with was Donil, but he's not here anymore. So I've been in touch with him since back in LA, and we're still in touch. So yeah, beside that, I didn't know anyone. Just get to know every player and get together and see who, how we can connect. But it works really perfect so far. Everyone trying to help me, everyone trying to welcome me, everyone trying to give me some advice about about the team, about every details inside the locker room, outside, about the city. So that works, I think, so far really good. And I appreciate that the guys trying to help me right away, and which is not normal or not happening every team. So
that's nice. We try to be welcoming here in Minnesota. I feel like. How have you found Minnesota to be just as a place? I promise you, it's not always this hot. This is rather unusual right now.
Yeah, it's what I can say. I am enjoying it because I know I enjoy every day of this weather, of this hot weather, because I know it's gonna be done very soon. How I heard from everyone, it's gonna be crazy winter here. So I'm trying to enjoy every moment, every hour in this kind of weather. So yeah, so far is a nice city. Is of course a little bit quiet than the other cities I lived in, and but I enjoy it so far, and can't wait to experience it more, of course.
Yeah, it's not quite as crazy as New York for sure.
For sure.
Which is
which is
its
also
whole it's its whole own thing, which is great as well. But Minnesota has a lot to offer, especially, the winter is nice. I know it's a bit of an adjustment. There's some guys you would see who obviously didn't really want to deal with the cold weather out here, practicing always in the knit caps and things like that. But so far I feel like there's been a couple really cold games, but not terribly snowed in so far, I think, in Minnesota United's history. So
yeah. So we hope this year as well.
Yeah. Keep that run going. So yeah, you mentioned playing against Minnesota United. I mean, I hate to bring it up, but for the inaugural home opener at Allianz Field back in 2019, I think it was April 13th or something like that. We were playing NYCFC, and you put NYCFC ahead and then made the game a 3-3 draw in the end. So were there any lingering bad feelings about spoiling the home opener from guys on the team?
I mean, yeah, of course, I still remember that moment or that game, because especially we knew it's going to be an opener game for Minnesota United. And yeah, back in the time, 2019, playing for NYCFC. Yeah, as I said, as a player, you want to score in every game, or you want to win every game, or you want to give your best. And that's what I'm trying to do. And but yeah, it was a good experience, because especially in this nice stadium, to have an opener game there, it was actually amazing. I still remember the energy from the crowd, how when Minnesota scored the goal. Wow, that was actually, I still remember the energy and in there. But we enjoyed it, and now I'm enjoying it to play for Minnesota, and can't wait to score my home goal, front of our fans.
Yeah, they love it. I mean, the supporters are so huge. It's fantastic at Allianz Field. I remember as well that was Ozzy Alonso scoring that goal, who's not a goal scorer per se. but he was such a heart of that team that year, that it was great. It was great for him to get that first goal in Allianz Field. So it was fun.
Exactly. Yeah, I still remember that. Yeah, too. So.
Yeah, so I mean, you've already scored and assisted, I believe, so far with Minnesota United coming off the bench so far. That first goal was against Houston. It was a rebound, right?
Yep. Yeah, my first goal was not far away from now. So yeah, it is against Houston away. Yeah, I just kind of knew that maybe the ball was gonna drop there, and that wasn't the right spot, and just needed to to finish it. And yeah, I'm happy to score my first goal for Minnesota, and hopefully more to come.
Yeah, is that just part of the the sort of attacking mentality, that you're not going to take it for granted that any ball is going to go in or going to miss? You're always going to try to keep pressing and get up there in case that kind of thing happens. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, there is, I think, a lot of goals happen when you just need to be in the right spot in the right time. right timing, and that's where the mostly of the goal happen. Whenever, of course, it happens some amazing goals that happens, not always, but mostly of the goals gonna happen when you are, when you just don't give up and just trying to, going after the ball whenever, even if the ball not 100% you think it's not gonna go in, maybe something happened, and then you have to be here. So that goal was against Houston that way. I would take it. So yeah, so far, and as I said, hopefully more to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's so many. It can be such slim margins between teams. You got to take every advantage possible, and that's one of the great things. I mean, that's one of the as Adrian Heath always says, like, this is why attacking players get paid the big money, because in those high leverage moments, you have to be ready to take care of it. So, yep. Yeah, that's awesome. What do you feel about sort of yourself as a player? Obviously that we talked a little bit about that attacking mindset, but what do you feel like you bring to the team? Like, what's the thing that you sort of try to manifest every time you go out there?
Yeah, as I said before, like, I think as a player, I just want to be, of course, first of all, we want to win every game. I want to help the team, whatever is, either is with just defending, which is not the best part from guys like us or my position or something. We don't like to defend that much, but kind of these games on that mentality, you need to defend as well, and help your teammates in any step you can. That's I'm trying to, of course, to do that, and then the other stuff, as we talked before, just do my best, assisting goals, scoring goals, creating chances, just be dangerous in the opponent side, and trying to make a noise as much as I can. And that's, I think, what kind of player I am, and what I'm trying to bring to the team.
Nice. That's awesome. Talking a little bit about your sort of your journey, your personal journey, as far as your career. You've been sort of all over the world. You were born in Switzerland, is that right?
That right, yeah. Born in Switzerland, yes.
Do you want to hear my terrible Switzerland dad joke?
Please.
Okay.
Please.
What's the best thing about Switzerland?
You tell me, because you have a joke. So I'm they have few things. That's why.
Okay. Well, the flag is a big plus.
Yeah.
That's my joke.
That's a joke. Okay. I would take it.
It's a terrible one. It's a terrible joke. But I mean, we had the Loons had Jerome Tiesson, who was from Switzerland in the first couple of years, and so I can't remember if I got that joke from him or if I told him that joke. But I'm sure
you told him that joke.
Probably. But you play for the Libyan national team, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is that experience? What has your national experience been like playing for Libya?
Like I said, I was just born in Switzerland. After that, I don't have much with it. As of course, I born there. Then after we moved back to Libya, because as my parents, everyone are from Libya, moved there, and yeah, I would say my nationality is Libya. I play for Libyan national team, which is when I did my debut, was a proud moment for me, and especially, but more for my family. It was a huge moment to make the debut from the home country, and a dream come true, to be honest. So yeah, that's I did a couple of games, and the experience is just it's just been amazing so far. Because Libya is just about, as I said, football. Back home is only like the only sport is like football. If you are a player, or if you play for national team, it's just like, you feel like there is something there. They just loves you. They just going crazy after you, which is nice, and is a great experience, and hopefully more to come. But yeah, it's been a dream come true for sure to play for the national team of your home country.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, having talked to some guys before about it's just, I mean, you always love to compete. Playing for your country, that's got a real thing about it. That's kind of amazing. Did you know any of the other guys on the team before you got on the team?
For the national team?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I knew a couple of players. Of course, there is also some new players coming, but the first time I can get in, I know a couple of players, especially player who he played also back in MLS with El Munir. He played for Orlando, for LFC. So he's now one of my good close friends. So we've been always in touch till now, and he was also a national team player. So I knew him very well. He'd been a while for national team. He had like over so many games there, so he knew like he got. So, and also of course the other couple of players, but for now we know each other. There's more and more, and I think that's the key. Where as a national team, you just have to work as a team. You don't see each other very often, or if you see each other, it's just like for how long? Maybe a week, and then you just leave and then come back after a couple of months. So I knew some couple of players, of course.
Nice. Yeah, it seems like a very particular experience and sort of a tough one for coaches, I would imagine, in that situation, because again, you as opposed to having guys in training week in, week out, playing games all the time, it's sort of very compressed, and you got to develop that camaraderie, that sort of togetherness, and then carry it forward even over times where you're maybe not going to be together.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. So you came from before MNUFC, you were in Cyprus, right? Playing for Ammonia, is that right?
Is that right? Yeah.
What was that? I mean, Cyprus, small island in the Mediterranean. What was your experience there like, both personally and then also in terms of the football you actually got to play?
To be honest, it was a good experience. Before I went there, I didn't know much about the country, to be honest. As you said, it's a very small country, but when I get there, it's actually a very nice country. It's a very, a holiday country where you can have a really good life, and always good weather, nice food. So it's been a good experience, to be honest. I'm glad that I did it, and it's just not something like normal you can experience it as a football player. But it was nice. It was nice, and the football side was, of course, could be better, as the team was not doing well. So we've been struggling a little bit, but in the end we end up with winning the cup. So we end of the season still kind of was in a positive way. So, but yeah, the club and the country is huge about football. The experience been good. So it's just when if you play for kind of these teams like Omonia or the Upware or this kind of teams, you just when you go outside, you feel it like, okay, you play actually for this team, because everyone know you, everyone trying to taking pictures and everything. So it's something we don't experience that much in MLS, maybe, but because Cyprus is just a small country, and just having these two teams in Nicosia, so makes it, of course, way easier. So yeah, it's been an experience. I learned from it, and
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the climate is lovely. I think there's a lot of worse places to be than on an island in the Mediterranean and doing your job. So, So as far as coming back to MLS, and coming to Minnesota United, what were you looking forward to about getting back to MLS, and sort of the kind of football that's played here?
Yeah, I was actually really excited to get back to MLS, as I had very, very good, I would say, years in MLS when I played here. I had I think my best years over here. I just loved the league, and everything was like it's been great experience, and I had the chance to come back to the MLS, especially with this club as a Minnesota United give me the opportunity, and I just took it, and it's been just maybe 2 weeks now. So we had few months front of us, and I'm excited and can't wait what's the next few months gonna be here. And I'm trying to give my best, and to be as the best as I can. But as I said, it's been great. It's been great. The opportunity was here. I took it. Minnesota was happy. I was happy. So I'm glad that I'm back in MLS, and it's gonna be more to come for sure.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to ask you, I have to get your take on Messi coming to MLS, and what you feel like that does for the league as a whole, and just the sport in the United States.
Yeah, it's actually I don't couple of guys, like one of my closest friends, I still don't believe it that he did the move to MLS. We just realized it now that he played the last 2 games, and what he did, I think it's huge. It's very huge for the country, for the whole country, and for the league especially. It's an amazing step to to be there where the MLS want to be in the future. I think that's a great step to bring, I would say, maybe one of the best players in the history. So let's see. Can't wait what the league gonna bring in the next few years, or where they're gonna be, especially with this announcement that Messi is in Miami. So let's see what's gonna happen now.
Yeah, well, no scheduled games against Miami. I guess you have to wait for maybe the MLS final, like right when Minnesota United is playing against.
Exactly, and then we take it in the playoff. That's
yes, exactly. Well, Ismael Tajouri-Shradi, thanks so much for joining us here on Sound of the Loons. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Looking forward to your continued work on the field with Minnesota United.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Steve, and happy to be with you guys. See you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Peace out. Thank you, guys. See you.